Welcome everyone to our 2026 Democratic Primary Candidate Forum. Woo-hoo. The Flower Mound Area Democrats is proud to host this forum for our area candidates and most importantly for you, the voters. This is your chance to hear from the candidates who are running to represent you. For in 2 short days, y'all get to go vote, right? You get to choose your fighters in this delicate and dangerous time, and we need them, don't we? And they need us to vote for them. Can we do that? Yes. And I'm going to keep this introduction short because y'all aren't here to hear from me. You're here to hear from these fine candidates here. And they're going to get 5 minutes each. As you can see here, they'll get 5 minutes each, and then you all as an entity will get 5 to 10 minutes to ask questions from each of them. And I'll come around, you'll raise your hand, and we'll give you some time to ask questions of them. And for now, I'd like to introduce to you our moderator for this forum, Mr. Calvin Dorsey. Calvin has been active in the local community, serving on numerous boards and commissions for over 30 years. He is president of Dorsey Management Services and a founding member and president of the CCAAP, Concerned Citizens and African American Parents in LISD. Calvin had the opportunity to create, produce, and host Community Comments, which is a public affairs television show for the city of Louisville, which earned 15 international awards. Most recently, he served as an advisor to the city manager of Louisville, the training equity manager, and the Inclusion and Equity Task Force. Please join me in welcoming the ever-impressive Calvin Dorsey.
What a great day. Are you aware that for the first time in modern Texas history, the Democratic Party has candidates to fill every seat on the Texas ballot? All right. That's great news. But you didn't come to hear from me. Our first speaker today will be a very impressive candidate. And we'll begin with Vikki Goodwin.
Well, good afternoon. How's everybody feeling? I'm Vikki Goodwin. I'm a state representative from the Austin area, and I am running to be your next Texas Lieutenant Governor. After 30 years of Republican leadership, it is time for change. Well, it's past time for change. Our current leaders are taking us in the wrong direction, and what I am most passionate about is our public education system. Now, I know a lot of people these days are saying the overarching issue of the day is affordability. But one of the ways we can't stop the Trump tariff, the Trump tax, at the state level. But what we can do is make sure people are earning higher wages. Wages have not kept up with the cost of living, have they? And so for me, education is foundational to that. Our current leaders just passed a voucher system. After years of working at it, they finally got it passed because the governor poured millions of dollars into Republican primary campaigns. So those Republicans who were with us in 2023 came back beaten down, and they passed vouchers, $1 billion going to private schools. I was one of the very few votes against our budget in the legislature this session because of that $1 billion going to private schools. When I am Lieutenant Governor, I will not pass a budget that has any money going to private schools. I know a lot of people think, well, that voucher scam is already passed. What are we going to do about it? But really, it's pretty simple. We just don't pass a budget that funds it. So that's number one. Number two is health care. You know, these days, the cost of health insurance continually goes up. I've been a small business owner for decades. I'm a residential real estate broker, have a company called Goodwin Real Estate in Austin with my husband. And every year we saw our health insurance costs go up. Well, this year, I'm on the insurance committee. One of the big goals of the Insurance Committee in the Texas legislature was to bring down the cost of health insurance. Well, guess what their big idea was? To remove the requirement for health insurance plans to cover rehabilitative care if you have a head injury or a stroke. Horrible idea. Thankfully, the doctors came to the Capitol en masse and they killed that bill, but I've heard that the author of the bill, a Republican committee chair member, said he will bring that bill back next session. So we need leadership that will not pass these crazy ideas, but instead will focus on things that really help average everyday Texans. We need to put more attention on preventive care. We need to fund the programs that have proven to work. For example, the mobile health clinics that go around and help people where there is a lack of primary care doctors. They can go into the mobile health clinic, they can get their prescriptions filled, they can get their testing done, they can take care of their health early on before it becomes an emergency and they end up in the emergency room where the cost is more expensive. So that's my second issue. Number 3 is housing affordability. As a residential real estate broker, I think it's important that people be able to realize the American dream of owning your own home. This year in the legislature, I had 2 ideas around that. One, to put downward pressure on rent prices. The other, to expand an already existing program called Texas Homes for Heroes that provides low interest rate loans and down payment assistance for first responders and teachers. And I wanted to add social workers because we need more social workers in the state. And I wanted to expand the income guidelines so more people would qualify. The woman that runs the program says we currently assist about 10,000 Texans. We could easily double the program. Unfortunately, the chair of the committee said, oh, that would be too expensive. I said, no, it doesn't cost us anything. It's a loan program. We get the payments back. It pays for itself. And he said that instead, what we're going to do is pass a sales tax exemption on exotic game. All right, so that's number 3. Number 4 is water. Water is a huge issue in the state of Texas. We've got to address the rule of capture, where one man can go and buy land over the aquifer and pull all the water out he wants and then resell it. We need to make sure that that money that we just put into a big water fund is spent wisely and doesn't go to the governor and lieutenant governor's cronies. So after 30 years of Republican leadership, how do we do this? It's going to take all of us working together. Please go to my website, goodwinfortexas.com, and let me know how you can help out. And just remember, my goal is to send Patrick packing to Camden because we need a Goodwin for Texas. I am Vikki Goodwin, and I approve this message. Thank you.
Thank you, Vikki, candidate for Lieutenant Governor. Now we have a video that we like to show from Nathan Johnson.
Hi, I'm Democrat.
Go ahead, Nathan.
Hi, I'm Democratic State Senator Nathan Johnson, running to be the Democratic nominee for Texas Attorney General. I was elected in 2018 in a -12 Democrat district. We won by 8 points by turning out record numbers of Democrats, polling over on a 3-to-1 ratio, the kind of independent, undecided cohort, even getting moderate Republicans who were disgusted with their own party to vote our way. This is a cycle where we can repeat that, but the difference from 2018 is that we don't top out at 48%. We hit 50, 51, 52, 53. It's time, it's essential, it's vital to Texas, it's vital to the nation that we have Democrats who can win. I have flipped a 32-year Republican seat. I know how to beat these clowns. It's going to be fun. I need your help getting out of the Democratic primary. The other thing you want, besides someone who can win, is someone who can perform in office. In 8 years in the Senate, I have been at the forefront of every Democratic fight: abortion rights, voting rights, equity, equality, inclusion, fighting against vouchers and gerrymandering. We lose most of that stuff. It's time for some wins. At the same time, I've passed 135 bills, including bills to fortify the electric grid, getting 350,000 people health insurance. Most of this stuff you know, you've heard, you've probably read it on my questionnaire: stopping babies from going deaf, defending renewable energy, penalizing polluters, passing criminal justice reforms. There's a lot of good that we can do even though they're in the minority, but we could do a lot more if we start winning some statewide offices. And I can do a lot more in the Attorney General's office. Extremely powerful office, 4,000 employees, 800 lawyers, $1 billion budget. It's an office that badly needs to be depoliticized And that's one of my priorities for the office, to depoliticize it, rebuild the legitimacy of the office over time, slowly, not through gimmicks, not through divisions and titles and all that sort of stuff. For real, bringing in good people, doing the real work, not act as a partisan hack job machine, which is what has been done for the last several years in an abusive fashion. I know I sat through the impeachment trial. I know I voted to convict 14 times, which brings me to one other very important point. You have a decision to make in this primary. Sadly, I have an opponent who has decided to run not just a negative campaign. People do that kind of stuff. I don't. I've never run a negative campaign. I'm having to say something negative in this case. He's being dishonest. He's distorting things. He's misleading people. He's trying to make people believe things that he knows aren't true. And I don't respect it. And in the process, he's not just attacking me, he's attacking many of our absolute best Democrats, including very progressive Democrats who've been the same place I have on a lot of bills. You've got questions on individual bills. I invite you to call me, but I don't have time for that. We have got to get in and win this election and do some good work. I ain't MAGA's favorite Democrat. I'm the one they're afraid of because I can pass bills and still beat them. That's what we need to do in November. I really look forward to your support because we got to win this one. It's essential. Thank you.
With us this afternoon is a candidate for Congressional District 26, Ernest Lineberger.
Thank you, Flower Mound area Dems, for hosting this event and for all of you for coming. Our democracy counts on all of you to invest your time, do your research, and then jump through all the hoops to make your vote count. I appreciate you, and I ask for your vote. I'm Ernest Lineberger, Democratic candidate for U.S. House for Texas Congressional District 26. We are one community, diverse but not divided. I'm running for Congress to serve all people, putting people's needs first. As I grew up, the son of a Navy chaplain, my faith developed. And it's love your neighbor, and we are all neighbors. I don't see that in the current Congress. They prioritize wealthy and big business over the people. To garner votes, Republican candidates have used division, fear, and hate to pit Americans against their neighbors. That needs to stop. I'm stopping it now. My background as a naval officer, specialized in nuclear power, and an engineer in semiconductor manufacturing have taught me that reality, facts, and integrity matter. I've sworn an oath to the Constitution that I hold dear. I'm driven to serve the needs of the people in our communities, to serve our nation, and to strengthen and grow international relationships with partners and allies. Put simply, to serve you. By addressing real needs, we are going to flip this seat and return Congress to working for all people. As many of you know, I'm now in my third year of campaigning to flip this U.S. House seat from MAGA chaos, corruption, and cruelty to thoughtful, responsible stewardship of democracy, government services, and budgets, leadership that truly serves our people and our community. Again, to serve you. It's all about building a bench. This campaign has never been about just one seat. It's all about building a bench of serious statesman-like leaders up and down the ballot, candidates who understand that government should work for working families, not big money and monopoly corporations. If we want to rein in corporate influence and restore integrity to public policy, we have to elect leaders who are grounded, accountable, and courageous. And that's exactly what we're doing. Later this evening, my campaign will host episode 2 of Ernest Conversations, an in-person and online forum designed to elevate strong Democratic voices and connect voters directly with candidates. We'll be joined by Vikki Goodwin, 4-term Texas House Representative and candidate for Texas Lieutenant Governor, who we just heard here a moment ago, and Keenan Colbert. He's a Marine Corps veteran and Democratic candidate for Texas Senate, Senate District 2. Our primary topic, immigration and its many complex challenges, an issue that demands facts, compassion, and constitutional leadership. Previously, episode 1 of Ernest Conversations featured 2 outstanding Texas House candidates working to flip MAGA seats to put people's needs first. There, we discussed affordability and the many issues impacting quality of life with today's economics. Our campaign also hosted and supported multiple community town halls, outdoor protests, and other events, because despite the fear and division pushed by Trump's Republicans, I truly believe this: we are one community, diverse but not divided. And right now, momentum matters. Early voting is imminent. We're block walking, mailing postcards, hosting events, building name recognition, reaching persuadable voters while political awareness is at its peak. If we're going to strike while the iron is hot, we need the resources to expand our outreach right now, not later. Every dollar helps us to reach more independent voters. Every show of support sends a message that North Texas is ready for leadership that puts people's needs first. Please help us to keep building, to keep organizing, to win now, and especially in November. Then we can make a difference, again, putting people's needs first. I'm Ernest Lineberger, retired naval officer, and your Democratic candidate for U.S. House for Texas Congressional District 26. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ernest. Our next candidate is Stephen Shook.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephen Shook. I am the Democratic candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives, Congressional District 26. This may be the first time some of you are meeting me, and this may be the last chance you get to hear from me before the primaries start. So I thank you all for being here, and I thank the Flower Mound area Democrats for putting this event on. Right now is a pivotal moment for our Congress. We need strong leadership with backbone that can stand up to this administration, and that's what I hope to bring to Congress. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I am the grandson of an immigrant. I am the son of a nurse. I am the brother of a nurse. I am a nurse practitioner. I have been caring for the critically ill and injured in North Texas for the past almost 20 years. I have seen what happens when healthcare fails our nation. As Representative Goodwin talked about, her passion is education. My passion is obviously healthcare. There is so many ways that we can help our affordability crisis through healthcare. How many of you guys have watched the commercials on TV that say, buy this medication, get this medication? Yep, everybody's seen them, right? You go to your doctor's office and they tell you, nope, that's not even the right medication for what you need. So one I always like to bring up, let me get it here, is this right here. Everybody knows what this is? An inhaler? This inhaler, without insurance, costs $700. Through the new Trump RX plan, you can get it for $200. Sounds great, right? But through programs that have existed for years and years before Trump RX even became a thing, patient assistance programs through pharmaceutical companies, you could get it for $35. So we already have a fix to those problems. But yet, insurance companies, pharmacy management companies still make billions of dollars off of something like that. That is something somebody needs to breathe. When you're walking around the store and you get short of breath, you can't go without that. I don't know how many of you can afford $700 a month just out of pocket and pay your rent, pay for your groceries. I can't. Right now, I have legislation ready to go, day one, when I get elected, that will help bring down medication costs and help start pointing us in the direction of a Medicare for All universal health care program that would take away direct-to-consumer marketing these commercials we all see. How many of you guys know how many companies actually have direct-to-consumer marketing for medications? 2. There are 2 countries in the world that have direct-to-consumer marketing, us and New Zealand. The rest of the world does not allow that, because that is billions of dollars spent on advertising that goes right into the cost of that medication. Those are the kind of things we need to end. Through the federal government, we can put stops in places to prevent that from happening. That same medication in the European Union costs 40 euros. Same medication, same manufacturer. And that's just one step of the way we can improve affordability. We can start to make things better. We just have to take that first step. So, I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but a little bit more about myself. I was born and raised in North Texas. I've lived here every day of my life. I've lived in this region. I know this region. I was born and bred here, educated here. Went to schools at Tarrant County College, Texas Tech, University of Texas at Arlington, where I got my master's degree. I am Texas through and through, and I hope to be able to represent every single one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. We've heard from a candidate for Lieutenant Governor, a candidate for Attorney General, one for Congressional District 26, in fact, 2 from Congressional District 26, and now we have candidates from, we're going to take questions now? Okay. That's a good idea. Does anyone have any questions?
Time for questions. Questions for those for the congressional candidates. Who raised their hand?
Mr. Shook, I have a question for you. I think it's great wanting to reduce the price of medications. It has to be done, it has to be affordable, and it should be available to everyone. But my question is, you have this bill that you want to bring up to be voted on by Congress. We have so many politicians whose hands are deep into or the lobbyists have hands deep into their pockets. How do you change that? How do you turn the tide so that you can get bills like this passed when we already have so many politicians taking money from pharmaceutical lobbyists? How do you change that?
So lobbyists are a major problem, right? Absolutely. 100% couldn't agree with you more. How do we do it? Sorry. Get a little feedback there. Got a little too excited, wanted to get close to and engage with you. So how do we fix that? What we're doing right now. You get out, we vote, we flip the district, and now I think the microphone's not working. There we go. We flip all these seats so that we have more candidates in office that will actually vote on these things, and strong candidates that are willing to stand up and fight for what they believe in. And I hope that I'm that candidate for you, because I don't plan to back down. I've had people ask me, well, you would be a freshman congressman. Would anybody listen to you? I don't care. I'll keep talking and talking until somebody listens. Thank you.
Thanks. I have a question for Stephen. I just found out recently a student that I had when I was still teaching passed away from not having an emergency inhaler, literally an asthma attack. And when I spoke to the nurse at the school, one of the things she brought up was the need and the desire for nurses to have emergency inhalers on hand. Is that something you've heard about? Is that something you're interested in putting through?
So I mentioned earlier that my mother was a nurse also. For 45 years, my mother was a school nurse. They operate with almost no equipment. They do the best they can until they have to call 911. But one of our biggest issues is we lack preventative health care. I work primarily in the ICUs and critical care. I can't tell you the number of patients I've seen in recent uptick in the last 6 months. There are people in their 40s that have suffered major strokes. They will have complete loss of control of one side of their body. They can't swallow, they can't speak, all because they couldn't get their blood pressure medication. Now that's going to be somebody that's going to have a debilitating injury for the rest of their life. And as Ms. Goodwin was talking about, they're trying to get rid of rehab for those people. So the cost of preventative medication, such as inhalers to prevent someone from having an asthma attack, blood pressure medication costs so that someone doesn't have a stroke, are pennies compared to the $250,000 they're going to spend on an ICU stay, rehab. So yes, this is something that we need to look into at the federal level and the state level to make sure that preventative medicine is actually available to our country.
To your left, there's a question to your left.
Mr. Shook, can you tell me what your attitude is about cannabis legislation?
Cannabis legislation, okay, so they've talked about, right now it is a Schedule I drug. So that puts it right up there with heroin and cocaine, saying it has zero medical value. I don't believe it has zero medical value. We've seen great outcomes in seizure patients. We've seen great outcomes in stroke patients. We've seen great outcomes in veterans with PTSD. So yes, the reclassification of cannabis to a Schedule III medication where it puts it right in line with Tylenol 3 or testosterone, I'm 100% on board with that. There's also questions of, does it just need to be recreationally legal? I can see the benefits of that as well. I believe that I was watching a debate with Tallarico and Crockett not too long ago where we talked about the amount of tax income that could come from casinos in Texas. The amount of tax income that could come from legalized cannabis would completely wipe out most of our debt. So yes, I do believe that cannabis legalization or at least reclassification needs to be discussed at great length.
Does anybody have any questions for Ernest Lineberger? Okay, we got one.
So the topic of money in politics, specifically lobbyists, was noted with the fix being, we flip some seats. I'd say I don't think that's going to be effective. From my personal view in reviewing other countries, the way that they handle money in politics is it's either outright banned or they have significant restrictions on it, whereas in our country, obviously, it's not. Do you have, I guess, thoughts on ways to address what I would feel is our biggest challenge in our democracy is that corporate, rich, et cetera, has a more proportional impact to our politicians than the representatives, meaning if the top 1% have X amount of money and they're allowed to spend it freely, they can influence it that amount. And then us at the kind of other end of that spectrum have Y amount of money, so we're allowed to influence our politicians by a significantly less amount. So,
I thank you for that question. There is so much involved in the money in politics, and we need to be so strong in getting it out. Not too terribly long ago, in my lifetime anyway, we had bipartisan agreement on keeping money controlled in politics. And then was it the Citizens United decision? Was that 2010? The Supreme Court? That's even before President Trump got to pack the Supreme Court. Somehow they decided to say a corporation is a person and has the right of free speech. I am so against so much of this. And Vikki Goodwin gives an interesting talk on money in Texas politics. As a U.S. House a candidate for U.S. House, all of you are limited to giving me $3,500 maximum per election. Now you can give that to me up until the primary is over, and then it starts over, and you can give me another $3,500 up until the general. Hint, hint. But But for the state, for our House district candidates, it's unlimited. Somebody can come in with $1 million and plop it down on your, that is so crazy, and that's how, the vouchers got pushed through by, the governor was given a lot of money, and he used that to dole out to different House districts to where they basically bought enough people into the House to where that would happen. So we have to fight against that, and I think your question might be, how are we going to fight against that? The only way is for voters to take back their power to avoid the calamity of the culture wars and the single issue voting where people are voting in these Trump-type Republicans that they don't even care about those issues. They just want to cling to power. And as soon as the voters claim their power, it might even take a constitutional amendment to get past that Citizens United. I know, I won't name the company, but I became aware of a company that had PAC, and you could, as an employee, just say, I want to be part of that, and they'll say, okay, that's fine, we'll start taking money out of your account, but there's only 2 executives that decide where all that money's going. They don't vote by all the people. It's craziness. Now, they often just only give like $5,000 or something, so it's not millions, but money, if you were to ask me what are my priorities, I would say establishing strong voting rights and doing the best we can to get money out of politics. Those are the first 2 things, because after that, then the voters have so much more power to control what direction we go and what we do. I mean, clearly we need to do things with medical costs. Clearly we need to do things to balance the budget and affordability. And I mean, there's a long list I've got of things to do, but you're exactly right. Money is the huge issue. Thank you.
Candidate, there were a couple of questions that you didn't get a chance to respond to. They were posed to Mr. Shook. Do you have a response?
Sure. So I'll try to keep this short. On the cannabis question, I fully agree with decriminalizing cannabis. We don't need to be putting people in prisons for the use of it in small amounts. I fully agree with the medicalization. It has helped so many people's lives. I'm a veteran. There's a lot of veterans who rely deeply on cannabis for their quality of life. I also am very familiar and very close to some people with inadvertent recreational use of cannabis has driven them over the edge into a mental health catastrophe. So I'm not real clean on just total recreational use. So take it or leave it. That's my initial position, that, as a candidate, you have to bargain back and forth with things, but that's the way I see it. Medical, for sure. Recreational, probably not. Decriminalization, yes. What was the other one?
Medical for like inhalers or preventative care.
Costs of medical, or should a nurse have that capability? I really don't know the rules of school nursing, but it does seem like you should have the correct emergency kit, whether it's those EpiPens that you have to have and the inhalers and other things, critical things to save life. It seems like a nurse should be EMT certified and able to do some emergency stuff, I would think. Thank you.
Thank you. There's another question.
One more question.
And this is for both Mr. Shook and Mr. Lineberger. We're in the primaries on Tuesday. At the conclusion of the primary, if you are not successful, will you wholeheartedly support your opponent? It's an easy question. Yes or no?
Absolutely 100%.
Mr. Lineberger?
Yes, there's no doubt.
Okay.
I've been
Perfect.
supporting candidates up and down the ballot.
Perfect. Last question for the room. Regardless of who wins this race or who wins a primary race, do you commit to supporting the winner?
Absolutely. Thanks for that question, Brian.
Thank you, everybody. Denise Wooten is our next candidate.
Hi, Hi, guys. I feel like this is old home week. I've met many of you before, and I'm glad you were here today. And thank you to Flower Mound Area Democrats. Of course, I'm a leader as well, but thank you for having the candidate forum. So as many of you know, I am a doctoral clinical psychologist, and I've been a psychologist for over 35 years. Now, that makes me old, seasoned, or experienced, and I beg you to choose your adjective carefully. Now, as a result of doing this kind of work for 35 years, and my specialty is autism, ADHD, learning difficulties, disabled adults who need guardianship, I have been privy to seeing all of the unmet needs that we have here in Texas. I am sure most of you know people with unmet needs here in Texas as family members, friends, loved ones, or acquaintances. So because of my unique background where I touch schools, physicians, families, the individual, I want to go down to Austin and affect legislation to directly influence those areas. Of course, I'm all about defeat fascism, as you were talking about earlier, the horrible immigration things, but I had to look at what can I do? What do I bring to the equation if I go down to Austin to influence legislature? And it is public education, mental health, and overall medical health. Those are the areas with which I am most familiar. All of you are sophisticated Democrats in this room, most of you. I met someone who's an independent. I'm grateful for him to be here. But you know that the school vouchers are not okay. You know they were bought by Abbott primarying rural Republicans who knew that keeping active public school services in their communities was vital to their communities. He got them out. We also know that no funding was given from 2019 to 2025, which meant schools closed, we don't have enough staff, we can't fund special education adequately, which is near and dear to my heart. So in my priorities, I would want to repeal the Voucher Act. I would want there to be fair funding for public education, because even when they did a bill in 25, it wasn't enough. Also, they limited what school districts could do with it. They told them exactly how they could spend the money. They did not let those districts individualize it, and educators know what they need to do. We should not be saying that as legislators. And then I think we also need child care subsidies so we can have enough teachers. Many of you know that my daughter is a special education teacher. She has an 8-month-old. You see his pictures. You see the 3-year-old's pictures. I put them on my Facebook. Her daycare costs are $35,000. That is more than half of her take-home salary. So if we don't help teachers and other school staff be able to afford to work, we can't take care of public education. And I've said this before, so sorry if I'm boring you, but to me, public education is the great equalizer of opportunity for all Texans, not just wealthy people. So that is a priority that I would wish to do. Mental health. We have a shortage of mental health care providers. About 90% of the counties in Texas do not have enough mental health care providers per capita. It's about 1 provider for every 530 Texans. That means I'd have to take care of over 100 patients a year, because the need in Texas, 20% of Texans have a disorder. I'm not talking about they want to know whether to have sex with their boyfriend, and that's why they go to a counselor. I'm talking about full-on clinical disorders that are diagnosable. We don't have enough people to take care of them. Almost 1 million people have serious mental illness, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, or we have intellectual disability. We don't have enough people to take care of them. It takes 6 to 8 years of college and further training to turn out a mental health professional. It is extremely costly. One of the ideas I have is, I call it train in Texas, stay in Texas. I would like to have a grant program that provides money to people while they are training. If they stay, they get to keep it. If they leave, it flips to a student loan, and they have to reimburse it to those of us in Texas. So that's one of my ideas. And then we also need to restore government funding for human services. Texas is about 45th out of 50 states in per capita expenditure for all of human services. But we're the second in wealth. Who's getting the damn money? It's not the people that need it. It's not the people that need a helping hand. Third, medical. We're all concerned about that. Like, it was expensive before 2026. We have problems with Medicaid. Everybody says expand Medicaid. I got off of Medicaid after 25 years as a clinical psychologist. I'm a liberal do-gooder. If I get off of Medicaid, I'm losing money. Well, we can't just expand Medicaid. There aren't enough providers right now. We better fix the entire system. People that go around with a simplistic answer, expand Medicaid. Well, there aren't enough providers now to take care of who's already on Medicaid. So we better make that system better so that we can get providers. If you are not on a Christian nationalist agenda, such as Planned Parenthood, you get your funding cut. You know how many people Planned Parenthood took care of for preventative care and reproductive care? And abortions was just a very small part, gender-affirming care, just a very small part of what they did. Now those folks have nowhere to go because they took away their Medicaid funding and other sources of funding. So we need to do that. I would love Texas, oh, shoot. I told her she would have to stand up and wave it at me. Yeah.
Wrap it up.
But can I say one more thing? 30 seconds to wrap up. I would like us to have subsidies for insurance in Texas. Why couldn't our state do it? Sure, they got rid of the federal ones, but why couldn't our state help people have affordable insurance so that they can get the medical care they need and not die or have a terrible quality of life? Denise Wooten, psychologist, ready to be the representative for HD 63.
Thank you, Denise. Detrick DeBurr, candidate for House District 65.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I ran for this seat last time, so if you voted in the last Democratic, you probably voted for me already, so thank you very much for that. With that said, so I don't want to waste a whole lot of time with that, I want to say a couple of things. Number one, I want to let you know that you're winning. It's important to know that you're currently winning. When you look at boots on the ground and things that are currently happening, we're actually winning. I'll use a football analogy, and I have to apologize because that's the sport I know. But you can look at the scoreboard and see what the score is, but you also can watch the line of scrimmage, where you're literally knocking them off the ball. You're actually making the tackles. You're getting the things done on the field. What's happening is we're getting things done on the field. So although you watch CNN and Fox or whatever, right, we're flipping seats, every single one, not by a little bit, but by a lot. You're making history. You have a person running for every single race. That's never happened before. It's important to point that out, right? Because you need to know when you're winning, right? It's important to know when you're losing so you can make your adjustments. But it's important to know when you're winning, like you're on the right track. Just keep doing what you're doing, right? Just keep doing what you're doing. Anyway, I sum up my campaign, we call this do the right thing. At the end of the day, it's not about leaning right or about leaning left. It's simply about doing the right thing. That's it. Every question you can answer, you can ask me, this starts as the fundamental premise. We're going to do the most good for the most people. That's where we're starting. That's baseline. We're going to do the most good for the most people. Now, I hear you. That's what they all say. Of course you're going to do that. Well, here's the difference. You see, in 1999, I became a planning and zoning commissioner in North Texas. 1999. For 8 years, I've served on that planning and zoning commission in Cedar Hill, Texas. Came over to the colony, served another 8 years. What's my point? My point is we got the work done. It's one thing to go down and fight, and that's perfectly fine. Sometimes you have to do that. But more importantly, you have to know how to get the work done. See, you voted for people to run your cities. You voted for people to run your schools. But they need resources to do their job. People in Austin have resources. People on the ground have problems. You hired them to fix the problems. You hired them to manage the resources. But for some reason, in Louisville, for example, with the ISD, those resources don't get all the way down to the people who can solve the problems. That's what we have to fix. The people in Austin have to stay connected to the people in Flower Mound. They have to know the problems of the city council and the planning and zoning commission and the school board in Flower Mound. They have to know that. Now, why should you support me? Because that's what I've been doing for 18 years. Behind the scenes. It's about getting the work done. Yes, you got to be able to fight. And you got to be able to not get beat up, as my dad would say. You know, that's a good start, right? But you have to know how to get the work done. Because everybody goes with great policies. Everybody has a great idea, right? But do you know how to get it done? You got to have the skill and the will. That's what I'm bringing to the table. And I have a history of that. I'll wrap it up with this. What I have I have a two-pronged attack. I call it private economies and public education. Private economies and public education. Public education is real simple. If we don't fund your schools, you're going to have to fund your prisons. You choose. Let me say it again. If you don't fund your schools, that fourth grader who can't read is going to end up breaking in the store. You decide. Okay? It's really simple. Public education. Private economies. Texas leads the nation in personal financial stress. I've heard you say that we have to address the Islamification of Texas and blah, 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 and Allahu Akbar and whatever else they say. But if you can't pay your bills, if you can't feed your children, that's your biggest problem. Personal economies. We must have a livable wage. That means that not only a minimum wage, but a livable wage. That means that we need to tie living wages to the consumer price index. So when prices go up, wages go up. This helps business people. I'm wrapping up. Because now you can plan and project. Anyway, with that said, go out, tell your friends and your family that this is one where we're winning. We can make this happen. I look forward to meeting you all and inviting you down to Austin. Thank you.
Detrick DeBurr, candidate for House District 65. Is Stith here? Frey. Candidate for House District 57.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. This is a beautiful audience. You guys are gorgeous. Let me get my life together here. Hey, everybody. My name is Stith, and I am running for House District 57. Thank you. A lot of you don't know who I am, so let me tell you exactly who I am. First and foremost, I am an HR professional by day. But secondly, I am also a West Point graduate, class 2006. I served in the Army for 6 years, and therefore I'm a veteran. There we go. I am also a coach. I am also a small business owner. And my favorite title of all the ones I have is I'm a father. And what those titles speak to when it comes to me is who I am at my core. It's who I am at my heart and what I believe in. And my service through the military is the first thing I believe in, service. And secondly, that true success comes from putting people first, no matter what you're pursuing. And so when you see my campaign slogan, which is service before self and people over politics, it's not a slogan. That's who I am and who I always have been and who I will continue to be when I win. I say when I win because I've been a football player all my life. I played football in college. So when I sign up for something like this, I don't do it just to go out there and play this. I go out there to win. I'm competing each and every day, and I'm grinding to be the best. So I've signed up to win, and with your help, I will win. Now, when I win, because I will, what am I going to focus on when I get to Austin? Well, the first thing I'm going to focus on, fully funding our public schools. Fully funding our public schools. So here's the thing. Cool little stat, maybe not so cool. Texas consistently ranks in the bottom 10 when it comes to average funding per student, consistently ranks in the bottom 10. Consistently, keep that in mind, consistently. And then we want to take that public school money and we want to give it to private school in the form of vouchers. And then when people fight for it, it becomes controversial. When has it ever been controversial to invest in our future, to invest in our children? That's not controversy, that's bad politics. At the end of the day, I'm going to go fight to make sure that our students, our future, our teachers, our ISDs, they get the money back that they deserve so we can build the future that we deserve. Secondly, for me, it's about creating good infrastructure. Like most of you here, I live in the suburbs where you've got 10,000 people there and it takes you 10,000 minutes to get anywhere. We all know that's not the way we want to live. But here's the thing, infrastructure planning is not simple at all, but it also is something that if we invest in and look for and plan for the future, we can create better results, right? And so at the end of the day, we don't put infrastructure planning second or at the bottom, we actually move it to the front so we can fully invest in our infrastructure. Third is growing our economy. You know, we've got large corporations that are here in North Texas. Corporations like Caterpillar that are moving here or have moved here in the last few years that actually want to grow here in North Texas. And then we have other corporations that have started to expand their footprint right here where we all live. But what's the problem? Well, we're still seeing unemployment rates that we don't want to see, and we're also seeing wage stagnation. To me, I believe that that comes from not connecting our education systems with what the employers are looking for. So we got to find small things like workforce programs to make sure that our high school kids and our college kids are coming out ready for the jobs that are available in the workforce, and we can start to close that gap and fix that problem. And then last, and definitely not least, my sweet spot, my soft spot, I'm a vet. And I'm always going to support our veterans and our public service members. Always, always, always. You know, I think that when you serve in the United States military, regardless of what branch you serve in, you bring traits that other people may not have. Not because they're not capable, but because they haven't experienced some of the things you have. The camaraderie, the grit, the ability to go out and solve the mission first. And so we need those types of individuals to be integrated into our communities each and every day. And as community members and people down in Austin, we need to support those types of individuals as well, because both sides benefit when we do that. So here's the thing, guys. What do I need from each and every one of you? I need support. You all are here because you care. You all are here because you want to make a difference. I am here because I care, because I'm passionate, and I know that when all of us are working together, and in Army terms, we're attacking the same mission, we will win. We'll win not once, not twice, but every single time. We will win. And so, support me. Support the candidate in your House district. Support the candidate in your congressional district. Support each and every candidate up and down the ballot, and when we all win, we win together, and we'll make the types of changes that we need to make in here, in Flower Mound, in District 57, across North Texas, and eventually across the state. Small wins, one at a time, stacked on top of each other, make huge differences. Don't look at these races as small. Each one, stacked on top of each other, make a huge, huge difference. Each one of you make a huge, huge difference. So please, again, support me, House District 57. Support each one of these candidates. And let's go win, guys. Let's go win.
Ray Stith, Democratic candidate for House District 57. Okay, we've got 10 minutes for questions. Are there any questions for any of the candidates?
So I've heard a lot of things about housing and job retention and schools and Medicare. What about the things that's going to be impacting every Texan, no matter their political view, and that's AI? We have massive data centers coming in. What are we to do to limit these to avoid getting our unemployment numbers going down even more?
Now, these questions are for Denise Wooten, Detrick DeBurr, or Ray Stith. Who wants to go first?
First of all, let me admit that this needs more research for me. They're actually talking about using AI therapists. That's the part that is related to my field. So that is currently under a lot of investigation within our psychological community. I'm part of the Texas Psychological Association's legislative committee. So we review bills that are being proposed, and we also look for the research to support it. So in terms of AI personally, for my profession, I don't want AI psychologists out there. I'll let somebody else address the data farm aspect.
Well, thank you, Denise. I'm not going to address data farms. However, I will address my thoughts on AI. Here's what I think about AI. First and foremost, AI has a place in our world, right? We have to progress. We have to move forward with technology. So we can't completely shun AI. But what we can understand is, where does AI give us the most bang for our buck, and how do we regulate AI to create scenarios where it's keeping us all safe, all right? So ideally for me, it's first and foremost understanding where AI can make the best difference for all of us, and slowly but surely integrating AI into our society in that way. And then secondly, you know, the regulations behind AI, as Denise said, requires more research, but understanding that we can regulate this in a way that is good for us to use it so we can continue to progress and move ahead with the times, but also make sure that we're protecting us as individuals and our economy as well.
Thank you, Ray. Great question, first of all, on number one. Number two, data centers is probably kind of at the underlying tone here. Texas is very attractive for data centers for a myriad of reasons. So just from a business standpoint, if you were going to put a data center, if you looked all around the United States, Texas would be one of the first places you looked, right? Just for economic reasons, practical reasons. So with that said, however, when there's any type of development, whether it be a mall or a new neighborhood, we do impact studies, okay? Now, we do those impact studies for the most part on a city level, like your city of Flower Mound looks at, but we don't do statewide economic impact studies, and that's what we need to do. We need to look at the statewide impact, right? How does a data center, for example, in Dallas or in the Dallas area affect, say, Houston? You know, these things, I'm not sure if you knew this, not really quickly, but basically, by 2030, data centers that are currently projected for Texas will consume more water than the city of Houston and Dallas combined, okay? So, and that's simply because when you look at it from the standpoint of just the data center and look at that impact, they didn't look at the impact downstream is where I'm going. So the impact has to happen at the state level. The impact study, I'm sorry, needs to happen at the state level, and that's not happening right now. So step number one is we need to implement statewide impact studies on all of those, and then we can tell you what works and what doesn't, because that impact is actually larger than county-wide, for example, which is where those studies usually happen.
I want to say one more thing about AI, but really I'm going to splinter it off. If you noticed, the three of us had very different responses based on our experience, and that's what I think we need to look for in House District Representatives. So I'm talking about psychology, my thing. He's talking about this is a tool, we need regulation, and we got the P&Z guy who totally understands that stuff, talking about what is the effect in planning and zoning and how we protect our resources as we do it. So I want you to support all of us.
Are there any other questions? Yes.
And this is for the House District races, right?
I wanted to ask Denise, and you other gentlemen can certainly weigh in too.
She said other gentlemen?
I meant, no, I said you
I'm an other.
Okay.
I'm messing with you.
I am sorry.
No, I'm messing with you.
All three of you can weigh in. I'm 70 this year, and I noticed when we got our homeowners' taxes that there was 0 on school tax. Well, I plan to contribute to LISD myself what we paid last year, which was $1,600 based on the value of our home. But I want to know why are they cutting homeowners off at 70 or whatever? I mean, shouldn't we all be supporting public school?
I think that was one of the constitutional amendments that was just recently voted on by the entire state. And so we didn't have much say over it. The legislators did not have much say over it. It was a constitutional amendment. And it is a shame, because if we help our public schools, we help people's lives, we help the economy, isn't that in the best interest of everyone, no matter their age, gender, or ethnicity, or socioeconomic status?
So I'd strongly encourage other seniors that had zero school taxes taken out to go donate to your LISD.
Thank you, good idea.
Right. Well, first of all, we have a serious school funding issue here in the state of Texas. Well, we've been beating that horse to death. With that said, if you think about it, we get federal monies, we get state monies, and there's local monies, right? That property tax here, right? Well, of those federal, state, and local, the only one that has it in this Constitution to provide free public education is the state. And you look at the amount that the state is, when you look at the whole dollar, it's only about like 20, almost 30 cents of that dollar, right? Whereas the federal money is pretty much relatively fixed. You had the COVID money, but that's gone. And then where else is the school board going to get it from? It's going to get it from the people they can ask, right? So how we fix that is we have to free up some of that economic stabilization fund, right? Is what they're calling it right now. This economic stabilization fund that's sitting over here, and start moving that toward public education. More money has to come from the state. That's my point.
Thank you, and Detrick went before me. So here's what I will say on that one. Yes, the state needs to provide a little bit more support. We understand that within each school district, you do want the local citizens, the local residents, to make sure they're contributing to that, because you're living there. Children and people in the community are using those funds, so we wanted to benefit our school district there. But at the end of the day, the state should provide more. And again, when I get to Austin, those are the types of fights that I'm willing to take on to make sure the state's paying its fair share.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you very much. We have time for another question. Today's for you.
One more question.
I think we can take two. Keep them brief, both of you.
Who had their hands up?
Keep your answers brief.
So let's go from data centers to immigration detention centers. So I know that the federal government, or ICE, or whoever, ICE, I guess, DHS, thank you. They're building big detention centers in different states all over the country, in every state all over the country. And I understand that there is a separation at the federal government and the state level. But as state representatives, what can you do in order to, one, stop, or two, ensure that conditions at these centers, people are being treated humanely? I know that there have been senators that have gone to some of our detention centers and are very clear about what they see and what's happening there. But what, as state legislatures, can you do to help protect these people and to stop the building of these in our state?
Sure. Very quickly, I go back to that whole notion of the impact studies. First of all, what's the just impact of that detention center in that area? That's one thing that has to happen, right? Number two, I think it's very, very important that our local, state, and federal representatives are on the phone with each other, talking it out. My point is, I may not be able to physically get anything done, but I can make a phone call, right? To my Congress. I can make a phone call to Stephen or Ernest and say, look, man, this is what we need, okay? So there's some things you can do policy-wise, but there's a whole lot of influence that you also can have. But so step number one, the impact studies, I think, are important, because that's like becoming a cog in the wheel, even if you can't stop it, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
All right, so when it comes to detention centers, I will say at the federal level, obviously state representatives do not quite make the rules at the federal level, but we can fight. And what I mean by that is just because the detention center is here, if my constituents don't like it, then I'm going to go fight at the state level, and I'm going to go fight and work with my congressman or congresswoman, congressman at this point, and make sure that I am, to Detrick's point, communicating and fighting both in the Texas House as well as making sure that I have my voice heard at the national level as well, because if it's affecting the people that I'm in charge of representing, then I want to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to make sure their voices are heard.
Of course, I'm concerned with the humane conditions. And I think all of the state services for the indigent need to be beefed up and could also be applied to the individuals who are housed in those detention centers. I know psychologists that are volunteering to go work with those people because they're traumatized. They have losses, they have fears, they don't know what their future will be. So I think medical services, you know, they passed something saying that undocumented immigrants could not get a free and fair public education. Well, how is that going to help anybody? So I'm concerned about the humanity aspect and what we can do to support those people and take care of them no matter what the heck the federal government does.
Thank you. There was another question. Yes, you're important. For sure, everybody's important, right?
Last question. And
Absolutely.
Then we're going to move on.
You're going to go first.
I recently learned that, while in watching the whole Minnesota debacle, that the reason they were within hours taking people and sending them to Texas is because our 5th district is full of Republican judges who, for the most part, follow President Trump and what he wants to have happen to these people, and pretty much does not listen to the individuals in those circumstances. Is there a way to fight that locally? And another thing that I have learned recently is that Republicans call their representatives with their concerns and their worries 8 times more than Democrats. We don't pick up the phone, y'all. We need to pick up the phone and call our representatives. But we're so much less likely to do that, and so our voices are not being heard by the people currently in office. So please, please, pick up the phone.
And what is your question? Did you have a question?
My question was, I'm sorry, how can we help to the people that are there? What can we do now? How can we say as state people that we want these, even if they're federal buildings, if they're in the state of Texas, can we please inspect them?
Thank you. I got it.
Okay. So again, yes, there's something that we can do at the state level, and in my opinion, that is continuing to fight. When you talk about not having representation in the current seats, well, the biggest power is that. Let's vote them out, right? Let's get individuals in there who are actually going to listen, who are actually going to show up and do what's best for you and have your voice, you know, at the top of their mind. And so, yes, first and foremost, vote the people out who are not listening to what you all have to say. And secondly, yes, at the state level, get somebody in there that's going to fight for you and going to go up and make your voice heard at every level they possibly can.
One of the things that I'm really big on is, like I said, I think that your local officials have to be in alignment with your state officials, in alignment with your federal officials, right? And you have to be all on the same page. And when somebody's not on the same page, I need to be okay to give them a call and say, I'm going to make your life miserable. And hang up the phone. And then do so. There needs to be consequences for bad behavior.
Thank you.
I think in terms of what we can do right now, those of us who attended the immigration forum, were some of you here last time, I felt like that gave us a sense of community and what we can do as a community. Now, as a representative, hopefully I'll get down there, and I would like to ally state resources with community resources. But right now, I would encourage you to find the nonprofits and the charitable organizations that are directly helping these individuals, the ones who break your hearts because they're in these terrible conditions.
Thank you, Denise. Joining us right now is a candidate for Attorney General, Jaworski.
Flower Mound, all right. We just came in from Houston, Texas, and we have 3 stops in the DFW. I'm so proud to be here with you. My name is Joe Jaworski. I'm a 3rd-generation Texas lawyer, a former mayor of Galveston, Texas, and I'm the proud grandson of a Texas Democrat who prosecuted World War II Nazis and the President of the United States. And when you put those 2 things together, what's old is new again. I hate to say it. Look, I tell you that I certainly am proud of my grandfather, Leon Jaworski, who, young Texas Democrat, was licensed, still the youngest in history, and later would be the lead prosecutor at Auschwitz, Dachau, Hadamar, the Russelheim Death March, and he helped prepare Nuremberg, and then he came home. Decades later, he would be called upon to be the 2nd Watergate special prosecutor who took it to the corrupt Nixon administration, and henceforth, my dear grandfather's legacy, which I take very seriously, is no man is above the law, not even the president. I tell you this because Leon's blood is my blood. And so, Flower Mound, please hear me when I say, I am ready, I am unafraid, and I'm running to be your Attorney General. So, I am running because justice should never be for sale in Texas, and you know it is. And unlike that scoundrel who occupies the office of Attorney General, Ken Paxton, when I take the oath with your blessing in 2027, I will lead with integrity, not indictments. Yeah, I'll push back against the bullies, like I did when I was Galveston mayor. A little more on that in a minute. And I will fight the aggressive Trump MAGA agenda. Let me be clear, this race, and I'm talking about the primary as well as the general, is not just about books and laws and courtrooms. Yeah, we're lawyers, I get it. It's about a lot more. It's about the heart and soul of who we are as Texans and who we are as Democrats. And I have spent my adult life in fights that require heart and soul. When I was mayor of Galveston, elected after a 100-year storm that you'll recall, Hurricane Ike, I fought hard to rebuild Galveston with federal money. Thank you, President Obama, Speaker Pelosi, Leader Harry, Harry Reid from Nevada. And even when Barack Obama's Harvard roommate, HUD Secretary Sean Donovan, called me and said, Mayor, this $1 billion that Galveston is getting to rebuild its historic island, you got to spend 15% of it on public housing. So I took the mission seriously, and I stood 10 toes down fighting racists and bullies who were for-profit landlords who did not want competition for their Section 8 properties. But I saw that no matter your station in life, no matter your income level, when you leave the island to save your life after the mayor's mandatory evacuation order, and the coast is clear, you get to come home. And so I stood for rebuilding first-class community public housing. It cost me re-election, and I knew it was coming, but we signed that letter to proceed before I lost re-election, and by God, that housing is beautiful. It's 100% occupied, and people play, and they live, and they have their lives back. It's that kind of courage we're going to need in the office of Attorney General because, Flower Mound, it's all on the line. Yeah, what is Texas for anyway? That's what's on the line. Who do our elected leaders work for anyway? That's on the line. And what's on the line, 1 minute, what's on the line is 60 seconds. I will tell you what's on the line is the question of who among us gets to live a good life. And by that, I mean afford the American dream. Who gets to have a good home where you can rest at night, wake up refreshed, take your kids to a good school, confident they'll survive the day's classes. And who gets to vote and have their vote counted? Who gets to speak, Debbie? Who gets to speak freely? I'm telling you, it's all on the line. So, it's not going to be an easy road forward, Flower Mound, but you've got a candidate with courage who's ready to fight. So let's leave here today, this beautiful senior center, confident that you have a candidate for Attorney General. And let's tell the world what real Democratic leadership looks like. It looks like this. I will never lie to you. I can't be bought. And Flower Mound, I have your back. I'm Joe Jaworski. I'm running to be your Attorney General. And I'm asking for your vote.
Thank you very much, Joe. Very good. Very good.
Is it working? Okay. There.
Hello?
Hi.
Yeah, it's working now. Entertaining, passionate greeting at the beginning, but so good job there. My question is, yeah, I view fascism and the rise in power at the moment, et cetera, in the U.S. As Texas Attorney General, as much as I dislike it, Paxton has influenced, leveraged, and used his position across the country, you know, reaching out for when people leave for abortions, he's reaching out to other states. So even though his position is a Texas elected position, he has directly influenced the rest of the country. So my question to you is, with the world watching, because they're watching our politics, with the Congress being so close with the seats, you know, Texas has a great number of representatives and influence. So as far as leading the change in our country, we're in a good position. And while we have the momentum, my question to you is, on the national level and against the fascist kind of things coming out, how do you plan to impact and influence our national stage?
Yeah, I'll be moving around the state nonstop. Unlike Ken Paxton, who sends his little beautiful droogies out into the community to cause havoc, and he is like North Korea, folks. I mean, he won't debate, he won't get on any of the media shows other than the safe ones. But as mayor of Galveston, I was all around the island. As a candidate, I am the only one of the three that are making it all around the state, and you can see that from my 42 endorsements now, which, you know, respectfully dwarfs both my other opponents combined. And so what I'll tell you is, I will be the Attorney General that you will remember for voting. I will be on campuses, high school, college, law school, every campus, preaching civics, making sure that Texas Election Code 13.046D, as in David, is enforced, which requires every high school principal to offer registration twice a year to the senior class. I use that as an example because I'm not going to be just a fussy lawyer in a law office. I am going to be the voice of the people, because the Texas Attorney General does not represent the governor, the lieutenant governor, the legislature even. The AG represents 32 million Texans, so act like it. Don't just represent a base of suppressed voters like we've seen. So my promise to you is, I'll be on TV, I'll be on campuses, I will write columns like I have done for years since I was mayor, guest columns, op-eds. I will be a voice of civics and reason, unabashed, proud to be a Texan, proud to be a Democrat, and leading by example. I hope that answers your question.
Anybody else?
I have a two-part question. Right now, I see two major problems. One of them is our small farmers and the way that the tariffs are impacting them, and the takeover of large corporations buying these small farmers and putting these people out of generational farms. The other part is landlords, that I see corporations buying up properties for rent where it's raising the rent prices and the small people can't buy anymore because it's owned by so many.
Yeah, I love your question because it takes a rural and an urban issue, and it really combines them. So you spend enough time traveling with the statewide candidates. If there is a nicer guy who deserves no primary opponent, I can't think of one, Clayton Tucker. Okay, I've learned a lot about the conglomeration of power in the agricultural field. This is where the Attorney General can help our new Ag Commissioner, Commissioner Tucker, to break down the monopolies, not just in food chain that causes the cost of groceries to be high, but the equipment that farmers use, and the financing and the seed that they need. I mean, it's all owned by like 2 or 3 major entities in each of these silos. And so the consumer protection aspect of the Attorney General's office is front-loaded, ready to fight monopolies. So that's one. And I loved what you said about the landlords. You're absolutely right. They're aggregating properties, and there's no competition. I am going to develop a brand new division within the Office of Attorney General, the Division of Affordability. Yes, I know that's a word we keep saying. Well, there's a reason we keep saying it. It's what's on people's mind. And what the Division of Affordability will do is tell young Texans, yes, you can afford the American dream. You talk to any kids or grandkids today, and they just laugh like, hey, that deal's off. I don't even have to try. That's not good for America. And so the Attorney General's office is going to take on landlords, payday lenders. We're going to collect the child support and deliver it on time. We're going to sue Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, all of them that don't follow the Mental Health Parity Act, that you're supposed to cover mental health claims just like physical claims. We're going to sue insurance companies and investigate them if they're not paying the property damage claims on time. We're going to appear before the Public Utilities Commission for the first time ever to confront Encore and CenterPoint every time they seek one of their rate hikes, which never seem to be denied. You get the idea. The idea will be use the law to help people, not the wealthy and powerful. They already have lawyers. They don't need me. Yes, ma'am.
Question here.
Hey, Joe, I've been watching you since your last campaign, and
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate you for staying involved. I love the fact that you have made child support a part of your campaign. So could you tell me a little bit more about how you're going to get my money?
Yeah. No, it's a success story waiting to be written, because everything about the Attorney General's office is just partisan politics. I'm the Spanish Inquisition, says Ken Paxton. I'm going to demonize parents of trans children. You can't quantify that other than in hate. Now, here is what's great about collecting child support on time and distributing it to the conservator parent on time. It is a metric that can be measured to the penny. And like when I was Galveston mayor, people were so dissatisfied with government after the hurricane. Well, we created these like literally thermometers to show how much money was being spent to rebuild the island, how much debris was being collected by our contractors, and people had confidence in government that, wow, I can actually see growth, I can actually see performance. So the software, it's called CHAMPS, CHAMPS, and that is an acronym, is poor. It is subject to error, and what is happening is this 90-day routine is not being met. And so people have bills to pay. Your electrical company doesn't give you that forbearance. Your mortgage still on time, or your rent still must be paid on time, or else you're evicted. The Attorney General's not on some sort of timeline. We will be. And that's going to be self-imposed. Apparently, we're too big to fail. Well, we're failing. And so my answer is better software. And you see, Ken Paxton wastes money on frivolous lawsuits. We can be saving millions of dollars. Just last one, Google. You remember that Google settlement we heard about? He had 2 staff members that were responsible for landing that settlement, and they were both on a state salary. His notorious conduct was so bad, they left. And then Paxton had to hire Norton Rose Fulbright. that earned a $156 million contingency fee. I have no complaint on the work they did, but that's $156 million that could have gone into better software to manage the growing caseload. And so my promise to you is you'll see the performance, better software, and we will measure that metric so it's not some hidden agenda. Okay. Yes, thank you so much.
Joe Jaworski, candidate for Attorney General. Patiently waiting are a couple of other candidates. Will is here, right? Will Robertson. Candidate for Justice of the Peace, JP4.
Thank you, thank you. First, I want to recognize all of these individuals that are running for office because they have a big job ahead of them. And that's not just the election, that's cleaning up the Texas mess we have going on. So my name is Will Robertson. I'm running for Justice of the Peace, Precinct 4, as you know. Many of you probably don't even know what that position does. A lot of it is the first time you're to ever interact with the court is going to be with the Justice of the Peace. Evictions, truancies for children, traffic tickets, marriages, all of those fun community aspects. And that's what I'm running on, is community. Unfortunately, I'm not going to tackle the big concerns that we all have with our federal government and our state government right now, but I am to be seeing the real world effects of what these fine people do in office in my court. So I will be there by their side all the way to help influence things that will help our communities. That way, whenever it comes to our court, it's fair, it's compassionate, and like Joe said, justice isn't being bought. So I don't have much else to say, but I would love to hear from any of you that have questions. So my background, I am not a Texan by birth, like a lot of you, but I am a Texan by choice. And I think sometimes that matters more, because I believe Texas can be better, and I believe that Texas is a great place for a family. That's why my family is here. I grew up in Idaho. After I left there, I went to the United States Marine Corps. Unlike some of these folks here, I worked, I was enlisted, I was an infantry machine gunner. See, the officers understand the joke. So I spent 5 years in the Marine Corps. I worked for the Department of State, working at embassies all over the world, doing security for our diplomats, for our politicians that were overseas. I'm a small business owner. I went to Southern Methodist University, and now I get international security for my master's at Arizona. Yes, ma'am.
So you would be my JP, because
Yes,
you're
ma'am.
JP4. And what kinds of issues, maybe you don't know this yet, but what kind of issues are unique to the Flower Mound and this kind of western Denton, southern and western Denton County area that you might come across in the courts?
So I think a big issue is going to be the one about evictions, right? Because we have one economic downturn and crisis as far as job loss, replacement of it by AI, massive layoffs across the board for corporations that haven't seen it in decades. And so with that comes the consequences of losing homes and losing housing in general. So I want to make sure that we're doing that fairly and we're not allowing these massive corporations to come in and just buy up that property that is now in a vulnerable state. And I hope to do so by working with our state representatives and our congressmen and women.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Our next candidate, Dale. Pronounce your last. Frey.
Thank you very much. How you guys doing? Oh, it's really loud. Okay. Very sensitive microphone. My name is Dale Frey, and I'm running for office for the position of Denton County Clerk. Now I need to explain what that is, right? So the county clerk is the clerk of the Denton County Commissioner's Court. Also, separately oversees all birth certificates, marriage certificates, and death certificates in the county. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, this should be the most nonpartisan, partisan race on your ballot. What I mean by that is there's going to be a letter next to my name. There's going to be a D next to my name, and R next to the name of Julie Luke, my opponent. This is not supposed to be partisan, but unfortunately, my political opponent somewhat has made this partisan. Because back in the day, when the Supreme Court of the United States legalized same-sex marriage, like I said, the clerk oversees all of marriage certificates. Julie Luke decided that it was not within her so-called values to accept same-sex marriage, and she started to reject marriage certificates to those of same-sex couples. I want to be very clear here. The clerk of the county commissioner's court overstepped the county judge and the county commissioners, and she took it in her own hands to say no, and rejected the laws of the Supreme Court of the United States of America. My campaign promise to you is this: I will follow the law. Look, I don't agree personally with everything that our Supreme Court does all the time, but we have to respect the system. A clerk's job of the court is to respect the system and do what needs to be done. It is a clerical role, and I will take that job very seriously. I will act within the law, and I'll do what needs to be done. My personal feelings, I understand that I need to push them aside, and I need to serve. This is a job of service and serving a clerical position. Now, I can talk to our fellow county commissioners and our county judge. Unfortunately, they can't be here today. But I could talk with them and try to influence them. I could say, hey, we have this 287G program right now. 287G, by the way, is a contract between our county and ICE officials. It actually deputizes local law enforcement as ICE officials. And I can talk to our fellow county commissioners and say, hey, this is bad news, man. ICE is not serving us in the way that they're supposed to. ICE is shooting people on the streets, and we don't want to increase our local property taxes to support local ICE operations here in Denton County. A county so far north in Texas that if Cook County didn't exist, we would be bordering Oklahoma. You know, why do my property taxes need to go any more further up to support ICE when Trump's so-called one big beautiful bill dramatically overfunds ICE as it is already? Yeah, I can talk to our county commissioners, I can talk to our county judge, and I can try to influence them, but out of respect, I need to know that the job of the county clerk is to serve in a clerical role. I'm not going to overstep like Julie Luke did and start rejecting marriage certificates and rejecting the laws of the Supreme Court. I'm going to serve the way that is necessary. My name is Dale Frey. If you want to find out more information about me, come to freyfortexas.com. That's F-R-E-Y for Texas.com, and thank you for your time.
Dale Frey, Democratic candidate for county clerk. Are there any questions for Dale? Certainly there's one. I've got one. Dale, what makes you great?
What makes me great? Well, I guess I could just talk about myself and what I do. I'm actually the president of the Frisco Democratic Club. I've been a precinct chair on and off for precinct 2085. And what else? I'll tell you what. I'll take this time to plug another group that I love a lot. If any of you are interested in public speaking or learning how to If you're interested in hearing public speaking or trying to do public speaking yourself, there's a group called Progressive Leaders Toastmasters. I go to this group almost every single Monday at 7 p.m. It's both in person and online as well. If you go to Facebook and look up Progressive Leaders Toastmasters, we're a group that tries to help out local candidates. There are many other people who have run for office and have come out to Progressive Leaders Toastmasters and have gotten used to public speaking there. So I do PR for the Progressive Leaders Toastmasters. And like I said, I support the Frisco Democratic Club and a precinct chair. What else? I'm drawing a blank right now, but I don't know. You ask me what's great. I try to be involved as much as I can because I don't want to sit by the sidelines. You know, I previously ran to be your Texas State Senator for Texas State Senate District 30. So Flower Mound, I was not on your ballot in the last cycle. You have to be a little bit more north in Denton County. I would run to be a senator again. However, that's a 4-year term, not a 2, so I have to wait until the year 2028 in order to run to be a senator again. But I'm not sitting on the sidelines. I'm not going to be benched. I'm just going to continue to be involved, and that's why I'm running for this clerical position right now. And that's who I am, and that's what I'm all about. Oh. Who has a question? I thought I saw. Oh.
I know you've done some podcast work, so I was just going to point that out.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So Stephanie Draper is running for Denton County Commissioner for Precinct 4. I'm blanking now if Flower Mound is in. You're a precinct chair. What's your precinct number? 3148. Okay, so you're in precinct 3. So if you know your precinct number, the first digit of your precinct tells you which precinct you are for the Denton County Commissioner's Court. So Stephanie Draper is running for precinct 4. Flower Mound is in 3, it sounds like. Okay, so, okay. Okay. Yeah, okay. So when it comes to Stephanie Draper, I want to plug her real quick. She's running to be the county commissioner for precinct 4. So if your precinct number starts with the number 4, then she's going to be on your ballot. We do, as mentioned, we have a podcast that we have every single Wednesday. She's running for a very important position. And again, one more time, I'll plug this again. When it comes to the Denton County Commissioners, there are 2 top things that we need to worry about. The 287G program, which is the ICE integration into our county. The other thing I forgot to mention is countywide voting on Election Day. We have countywide voting in the early voting period, but not on the last day to vote, the election day itself. This confuses so many people. So many people get redirected all the time, and it's our county commissioners who are the ones who get to decide whether or not to change that. Right now, every single county, there's 4 county commissioners, all 4 of them are Republican, and the county judges are Republican as well. But by golly, I tell you guys, we're going to change that. 2 of the seats of the Denton County Commissioners Court are up for re-election, and so is the county judge. If we can get the 2 county commissioners, Stephanie Draper and Kansas Venezuela, and our county judge, Nick Bapas, to win, we will flip the county commissioners court, and that's what we're going to do this cycle.
Thank you so much, Dale. Yes, Stephanie Draper. Can we go back to that slide, David, for Stephanie Draper? Stephanie could not attend our forum today because Laura messed up. Somehow forgot that her precinct covers 2 of our Flower Mound precincts out west and south, like 4204, 4206, which I believe is Double Oak, and 4208, which I believe is Roanoke, right? So I absolutely mistakenly forgot to invite her, but I talked to her this morning. She forgives me. She's a quality human being. Please check her out online, draperfortexas.com. So she has that website. Like Dale mentioned, she has a podcast. What's the name of that podcast, Dale? Let's Talk About It, Steph. So check that out. She's a wonderful human being, clearly. And she's having if you can go to the next slide, David, she's having a birthday bash candidate fundraiser immediately following this forum at 4:30 if you would like to join her or donate to her campaign. I think you have to hit that QR code to find out where it is. I'm not exactly sure.
I think it's over in
Justin. Is it Justin?
Yeah, it's in Justin.
Okay.
It's the same place that the Lantana area Democrats did a candidate forum 3 months ago.
Okay,
It's in the
okay.
same place.
Surely she has this on her website somewhere, so check her out. And then we're done here. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I hope what you heard today helps you make your decisions when you all vote early this week. Thank you, Calvin Dorsey, for always helping us with this important event every year after year. And thank you, candidates, for making time to speak to your, hopefully, come November, after you win the primary, the soon-to-be constituents. We need you, and we're counting on you. And they can count on us, can't they? Count on our votes. Early voting starts this Tuesday, February 17th, goes through the 27th. You can even vote on Saturday and Sunday. Go to votedenton.gov to check out your voter registration and your sample ballot, and the many places that you can vote during early voting, and the one specific place you can vote on Election Day. If you haven't already joined the Flower Mound Area Democrats Club, we've got fancy new signs now with QR codes, pretty classy. We have our happy hour the first Friday of every month. We have a game nights, we have breakfast club, we have an adopt a spot that we clean. We have an informative club meeting every month. So like the sign says, we're about engaging Democrats, building community, and strengthening democracy through information, events, and advocacy. We'd love to have you join us. I release you. You are free to mingle.